Well, hello, everyone, and welcome once again to another conversation with our everyday ordinary mystics. And these are conversations with people who have, stepped onto the spiritual path and taking responsibility. And this is all about honoring their story, slugging it out every day, doing their best for themselves, their family, and the entire world. And I think each and every person needs to be honored. And I just want to say I'm getting a little bit of feedback. So I'm wondering, turn your volume just down a little bit. Yeah, there we go. Um, and so today's guest is Alison Dhuanna. And I love that name. And I've just, and I will ask you about that, what that means and why you chose it, because that's not her, real birth name. But I don't really know Alison. I just met her, but I've seen her around in some classes, listened to a video or two. And I just felt like the authenticity, you could just feel her authenticity and her devotion and passion to what she talks about really resonated with me. And I've decided to do some things before an interview. I get my impression of the person, and then I decided I'm going to just pull some cards. What does the universe think of the person I'm interviewing? Obviously, I'm getting all good things. And what I got for Alison was this beautiful card. Not that you need to see the card. Divine character, authentic and magnetic, as well as you are highly connected to or love to play in the stream of the seventh ray of freedom and transmutation, but also all about ceremonial order and kind of magic. And that's enough of my introduction. I love her. I think you're going to love her too. And so, and she's an astrologer, now an author, and then she does some other beautiful stuff, which we will talk about later. So welcome, Alison. Sorry for that long intro.
Oh, that's really lovely. Thank you, Kat. And yeah, those cards are amazing because they really capture, especially that seventh ray of
Yeah, you definitely. The more
freedom.
I'm learning.
Yeah, ceremony. I really feel that I'm a priestess,
Do
astrologer,
it.
which feels like a particular thing. So I'll maybe begin with the name actually.
Oh,
So
yes, please do. And then we'll start from the beginning and of your journey. But yes, the name, what is that?
yes, so many years ago in my 20s, I came across this book called Inanna, Lady of the Largest Heart. And it was, it had poems from a priestess, astrologer, poet called Dhuanna, who lived some 8,000 years ago in Sumeria. And from this early age, I really related to Dhuanna. And then I found out that the Dhuanna bit is actually denotes this kind of person who is a priestess, an astrologer, and a poet. It's like, oh my God, that's me.
That's me.
So I started using the name Alison Dhuanna, and I'm going to eventually change my name properly when I get round to it. But it has a lot of significance. I guess we all kind of resonate with a certain lineage, maybe, and that's the kind of original lineage maybe I kind of resonate with.
Yeah, yeah. And it just, I don't know if you, I don't know, there's so much power in a name. And if you are someone who doesn't like their name and struggles with names, it can just kind of add a yucky layer to your life. But when you love your name or you have
Mm.
this archetype that you feel like, yeah, that's me, and kind of keeps you on a path, it's beautiful. And I just love it. And it's like you discovered the name rather than creating or trying to force a name, right? Yeah.
Yeah, Yeah, it just felt like, oh,
Yeah.
that's a
That's
match.
deep.
That's an echo.
I love, oh, that's so funny. You said Echo. I was watching a series on Netflix called Echoes. Anyway, so let's start from the beginning. Let's talk about, your childhood and then moving in. How did you what sparked the spiritual path? So.
Okay, so I grew up in Johannesburg in the apartheid years, and I was real nature child. I don't think I wore shoes until I went to school, and I kind of lived up trees, and we had lots of dogs, and it was very idyllic in some ways, but politically, and especially the older I became, politically there was a lot of violence, a lot of division. So that has definitely shaped my passion, I think, for justice and unity, and to find, it was like having it shoved in your face. This is the worst shadows that humanity has.
Yeah.
And I kind of made it out of that with a lot of psychic scars
I know.
in
And
my life. I've
what was
got
your what sorry, we're having a lot of feedback, but we'll just work through it. We'll just go through it. What was your environment like during this time? Did you witness, feel, sense violence, and what was your relationship with your parents? I always like to get to the nitty-gritty before we get to the
Yeah, well, my parents are interesting. I mean, my parents are very religious, evangelical Christians, so that kind of shaped a lot. But within that, my father is a very mystical person. I mean, I remember when I was about 11, he had a vision of the Archangel Michael, and that's what sort of got him on the Christian path. And he had this amazing relationship with animals. So we would have animals arrive injured at our house, and my dad would give them healing. And he sort of had these two sides, that he was this incredible mystic, but then he kind of bought into the whole evangelical Christian thing, which, they would say animals don't have souls and all of that, but he kind of muddled along in
yeah.
that. Uh, yeah, so that was the one thing happening. And yes, I did witness a lot of violence firsthand. I saw the police killing someone when I was 14. So that was pretty wow.
Yeah. Yeah.
And yeah, a guy turned up, African, these were both African men who died basically, and one was stabbed and came into our house and kind of was right outside my bedroom and bled to death. So there were some pretty big things, and of course
Yeah.
we found an ambulance there, and there's an ambulance for white people that comes straight away, and one for black people that will turn up whenever it feels like.
Oh my God.
Massive injustice, which was just kind of accepted, though. Most people just accepted it. So you get an insight into things like Nazi Germany, where a lot of people just accepted the high levels of violence.
Wow. Wow.
But for some reason, I was on a program that I could see through it all.
That's beautiful.
Which, on the one hand, I had a lot of mental health problems as a result. But I have the 47th gene key. I don't know how many of your audience are into gene keys, but this is one that's about transmutation,
Yeah.
shadow energy. So I kind of think, well, if there isn't shadow energy in your life, you've got nothing to do, really. So I could see like this quite heavy energies were always around me in my childhood.
Yeah.
I left South Africa when I was 18. I left school, got on the next plane out of there.
And what, I mean, obviously, what I want to ask, what triggered it? Obviously that, but did you have a mission in mind, or was it just get the heck out, or did you have friends on the other end?
Well, it's interesting because a lot of my astrology has been around relationships, and the thing I think I really didn't want was to marry a conventional South African man and kind of be his trophy wife and,
Yeah.
you know, get my nails done once a week and, you know, take the Afghan hound for a walk. But, in terms of into being intelligent wasn't considered a good kind of thing for females, being physically strong. So all the things I was
Yeah.
were, I'd have to have put a lot of myself to bed
Yeah. Yeah.
in order to stay in that, really. And I'm an adventurer as well.
I
So
mean, I guess you were from the beginning. I mean, I think that when you're a nature child, when you're allowed to play and be grounded and have uh, parents like that, a father like that, it just builds in some kind of level of adventure and self-assurance and gives you a peek that there's something just a little bit more than what you're seeing outside. And so were your parents like, yes, we're behind you, we'll support you, you go, or were they not happy with you leaving?
I think they couldn't wait to see the back of me. I mean, I was quite a rebellious teenager.
Okay.
And I think, they were very into each other, my parents. So I think, like many women of my mom's generation, they kind of had children because it was expected
Mm.
them, but they'd say, yes, we wanted children, but they didn't want children to play with and engage with.
Yeah, yeah.
They kind of wanted children because that's what you were meant to do. So I think by the time I left it was either 17 or 18, they both breathed a sigh of relief. They waved me off on the plane.
Well, that was the start of your adventure. So, wow,
It
where
was.
did you go? What happened?
So I came to England.
Mhm.
My grandparents are from there. My parents were from England, so I could come here. And yeah, I became very political. I lived in a place called Birmingham for the first about 20 years, and then I'm living now in the north of England in a place called Hebden Bridge, which is very hippie, lots of poets and healers live here. British Airways once called it the second quirkiest town in the world. So the good thing about living here is I'm kind of quite mainstream.
Yeah, 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 yeah.
Whereas everywhere else lived, I always felt like really different to everyone else and alienated. But I found a place here where it's like, oh, okay, there's lots of other people like me. And now, especially since the pandemic, that's my world has expanded globally.
Yeah.
It's like, wow, there's lots of people like me everywhere around. So
Um,
life has become good.
so when you were 18 or 19, when you moved, were you already interested in spirituality, or what was the trigger to embarking on this whatever journey?
Well, if anything, I went in the other direction initially. So I became very political and I was an atheist.
Nice.
Mm.
Not nice, nice, but it seems to go that way when there's some trauma, and I think you're going to share later about some of your trauma or
Yeah, if you ask me the right
oh,
question.
okay. All right,
Uh,
I will let you speak.
yeah, so I became an atheist, and in a way that was really healthy for me because the way my parents saw the world is that everything's shaped by Lucifer or the devil, God, and the human being had very little kind of choice in that. So, I mean, the lineage of astrology I love is Dane Rudyard and the humanistic process orientated astrology, which is very much that, yes, we are in these big patterns of energy, but the choices we make
Yeah.
do make a difference. So I think it made me much more humanistic
Yeah.
being an atheist. And then, I mean, it was pretty unexpected in a way, but when I was around 28, 27, 28, I found astrology. I realized I was really good at that.
Yeah.
My astrology teacher took me as their lover, which was great.
Isn't that the way it always happens?
It was like, okay, I'm going to get this first hand, sort of
And was this kind of the normal astrology or the astrology that you just mentioned? Because what your type of astrology, every time you talk about it, I'm like, my head explodes because I don't. But anyway, I'm sorry. I mean, I think it's so gorgeous and beautiful, but astrology and me, like, there's no connection.
this teacher, who was a woman, actually, she was teaching a basic level
Yeah.
astrology
No, that's
course.
good. You need the foundation. Yeah.
Yeah. So that was the sort of foundation years. But one of the big things that happened was this huge kind of shamanic initiation with the White Lions of Timbavati.
Ooh.
So this all happened. It came from dreams and just all the synchronicity. It was amazing. And
Oh, share. You have to share. I have to, because you gave me chills hearing about these white lions.
Anyway, I went on a journey to South Africa for about 3 months, and I thought also I wanted to see if I wanted to live there, go back there, and yeah, it's just somewhere talking. Somehow the white lions came up again, and someone said to me, "Oh, there's one at the Lion Park, a cub just down the road, like literally 15 minutes from here." So I went to see the white cub. Her name was Cleo, and I had this just like life-changing interaction with her. And one of the things she did is she gently bit my knee.
Oh, no, that's a love bite.
It was like her blessing on my journey. Um, and I had this whole thing going on with baobab trees, so the whole plant world was coming in. And it was a really special time because I really awoke. But one thing that was interesting is that for the African shamanic tradition, the white lions are connected with the Christ consciousness.
Okay.
That was to come back in much later on as a very much a continuing theme of building bridges between indigenous wisdom and Christianity, and kind of figuring out what was the true teachings of Christ, which aren't really in polarization with the
Right.
indigenous wisdom. That is a construct, and a lot of people were persecuted under that construct. So I feel like this is my mission, is to heal this wound and to return to this old wisdom but new wisdom as well.
Yeah.
So yeah, it's a great journey. I mean, I've never got bored once.
So what were the other synchronicities with these white lions, this initiation, but initiation into what? What was the message?
Ooh, what was the message?
Or
Wow, that,
or just what did what was your response to that? What were
well, I think partly I needed to go back to South Africa. I needed to go back into my whole identity.
sorry. I have a little white and orange lion here that's wanting attention.
Okay. Hello,
I
hello.
know.
So, I mean, I hated that I had white skin. I had a lot of levels of self-hatred, of guilt. I was carrying like masses of guilt of the whole thing.
Yeah.
Very good on a healing level to go back into it and kind of, um, I did a whole carnival exchange at one point with all these incredible artists from
Yeah. Yeah.
Berg. So I felt like it was a journey home, literally.
Okay.
And also from that, I realized I really did want to commit to my life in England and not go back. So I'd always kind of been wavering between the two. And I kind of realized, oh my God, there's all these forces at work in the universe, all this synchronicity. And, my life changed pretty radically. I started to believe that I had some purpose here, and before that I didn't really. And I was very depressed because I couldn't figure out, like, what am I doing on this planet?
Yeah. Yeah. Boy, I hear you
and,
on that
and I
one.
felt really hurt by everything going on.
Yeah.
But somehow I found this purpose. And once you have a purpose, it's great. It's like a car with an engine.
Exactly. Exactly. So after you returned from South Africa, I mean, then did you just so what happened next after the basic astrologer or yeah, that sounded terrible. You know what I mean?
Yeah, it was quite fun actually.
I bet it was.
Well, I got really into the goddess asteroids, which
Okay.
um, group of bodies that are really bringing in and healing female archetypes.
Okay.
So we've got the mother archetype, for example. So one of the parts of my journey was that I adopted a child, and through this adoption I learned so much about how our initial attachment and nurturing actually shapes who we are, how our brain works, our ability to have relationships. So it was kind of like walking through fire, but I learned a lot about motherhood and what it really means at the deepest level. I mean, another one that's been key for me has been the priestess archetype. So that would be Vesta in
Okay.
astrology. Um, because I feel like I've come into this incarnation. Well, I've probably had lots of others in this priestess role, but there's so much fear attached to it, because there's been so much persecution, but also, like, more recently, like ridicule of the intuitive, spiritual kind of person
Really?
through science
Oh, yeah.
kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah.
Just like the other day, Brian Cox, who I actually really like, he's this astronomer in Britain who does programs, and he said, well, of course astrology is just nonsense. And he said that just after saying, that we need to be open-minded always. And then he made it so like, oh my God. And apparently he'd had loads of complaints about it that
Oh,
we were talking about. But, you meet that kind of thing all the
yeah.
time, that
Yeah.
what you're doing is nonsense, basically.
Yeah.
And I think a lot of healers face that kind of
Absolutely.
hitting that wall of intellectualism and rationalism,
Yeah.
not open really to exploring that.
And did it does it in any way stir up any of your own doubt? Uh, I don't know. Sometimes when I'm questioned, I kind of sit back and immediately the ego goes, "Yeah, everything you're doing is wrong." I don't know. You're a very strong person, so I doubt that you're affected that way. But does it just
Don't assume that.
okay?
So yeah, so I'm going to be 52 this year.
Wow.
But one one thing that happened, I mean, one of the questions you wrote to me is, was there any really big, significant spiritual
Yes.
happenings in your life? So when I was 47, which I mentioned is my life work in the
Yes, that's right. Oh, perfect. Yeah.
yeah, in
Transfiguration.
I know in 2 years I had two like massive encounters with Jesus. One of them, the first one, I felt so loved, and it was just light exploded in every cell of my being, and I just knew I was loved, and that every other person is love. It was like the love explosion.
Oh.
And then
How did this happen? Were you in meditation, just walking? I mean, sleep?
I
What
was in crisis, okay, because
crisis,
no.
Christ? I love it.
My partner, we were on we'd just begun this huge pilgrimage of 5 weeks going across these ley lines in the south of England, and broke both her ankles. And I was like so angry. And I went into this church and I was sitting there and in utter despair, honestly, my purpose, my sense of purpose was just shot to pieces. And then suddenly, boom, this experience happened.
Oh,
I don't know why. Well, I know why it happened because I needed to know how loved I was.
yeah.
And all this kind of religious message I'd got about judgment and this and that. And also, as you probably picked up, I'm well, probably, I don't know if bisexual is the right word, but I would be attracted to both
Right.
genders.
Yeah,
So
yeah.
in terms of evangelical Christians, that's a real no-no.
Yeah.
Being an astrologer, another no-no.
Oh my God. Yes, they were happy to see the back end of you, your parents. No, I'm just
Yeah,
kidding.
yeah.
Because isn't that very socially it- n- what is anyway, not go there. I want to continue on with this vision and your other, I mean, wow. That had
So
that had to that experience, it like did it like just in some way just transform and what is the word? Absorb into your being that it kind of never left you?
yeah, yeah, it's never left me. In fact, it took like a number of years to integrate it.
Yeah.
And,
Oh.
and sometimes I still fall out of that love, but mostly it's kind of set down now in there. You know,
And
I
how do you experience how did sorry, I'm trying to speak so I don't hear myself reverberating. Um, did that change how you perceive and interact with others after that experience? Did it change your heart? Did it, what was the transformation that happened within you in regards to your outer world?
Oh yeah, definitely, because I think I'd always feared that I was evil
Oh,
down, because of the mess, and my rational mind had gone, that's all nonsense, you're not evil. Um, but in that moment, I knew all of that was not true. And so it was a massive breakthrough, really, and my confidence, my ability to be in the world without shame. Because now, even if someone said to me, you are evil because you're an astrologer, or you are evil because of your sexuality, it would just bounce off me. It's like water off a duck's back. You
yeah.
know, Jesus told me himself.
You know what? And I think that transformation is I know what people feel around. That's your authenticity. The authenticity of just being who you are. I think that's the gift. Oh, it's so beautiful.
Yeah, I mean, I think, if I look at other people from LGBTQ community, but also anyone really,
Yeah.
people who are healers, I think have a lot of this going on, that there's this very deep fear of being in the world.
Yeah.
I
Yeah.
feel that what has sort of rippled out from that is that I often attract to me people who are in that
Yeah.
place of fear, and somehow energetically I open the door for them.
Yeah.
Or
Absolutely.
I help to transmute the fear in some way through the love, I guess,
Yeah.
kind
Yeah.
of understanding where that fear and horrible feeling all comes from, and the conditioning that we've been subjected to. So that's freedom as well,
Yeah, that is totally freedom. I think you just, after that experience, I think just you naturally, even if you were just having coffee or tea with somebody, you would be emanating that energy that you were enveloped in during that experience.
yeah.
But I have to ask just a really practical question. So after that experience, what happened with the two broken ankles, and did you finish the journey? Like, did the
Well, we
anger go
actually,
away?
yeah, well, yeah, I did. And we did the whole pilgrimage, because, it was like, well, we had this camper van that you could lie down in.
Okay.
So there were some adjustments, but basically we did it, and there were some things like we stayed at a place called Longley Caravan Park for a lot of the time because it had disabled facilities.
Okay.
We hadn't planned to do that, but it was right next to this lion park, and it was during one of the Lions Gates, maybe like 2016 or something. But we were actually in the roar of the lions. You could feel it through your body in this Lions Gate. It was really amazing. So it felt like everything happens for a reason, even when
Yeah.
it's a disaster, seemingly.
I love it. I love it. I love it.
Yeah.
Wow. So what
But
was,
really,
yeah, sorry,
I
go ahead.
add something else. So where I started with this is having these two experiences in 1 year. I felt like I was being called to become a priest.
Now, did you talk about the second experience or?
I didn't talk about
I
it
know. So
as well.
please share.
Okay, so that one took place at Montserrat in Spain.
Wow.
And we kind of stood in a queue. We'd gone up and down. We'd seen the Black Madonna, who's really quite amazing, but didn't really feel anything. And then we came back down and we were in the basilica, and we went into the side room, and there was this quite modern painting of Mary holding Jesus.
Mm.
Her face was like so full of anguish, and we just burst into tears. It was just like this breaking open. And I
Wow.
don't know what happened, but behind me there was a figure of Jesus on the wall. And I would never normally touch art in a
Right.
church, but my hand just kind of lifted up and went on the foot of the statue. And it was just like another boom moment. And I received like this whole download of Jesus on the cross. It was just like,
Huh.
it was astounding because, well, what I realized in that moment was what Jesus did is he collected like all this negative energy and he transmuted it through death and rebirth.
Wow.
So that's been a theme of my life. I work with the Venus cycle, which is very much that death and rebirth.
Okay.
And I realized as well that he wasn't alone because all these other people, Mary Magdalene, Mother Mary, they were all actually part of a group of people who held
Yeah. Yeah. Yeah.
rights.
Wow.
So it really transformed one of the core teachings of Christianity for me, which is what happened on the cross. You know,
Yeah.
I'd never even wanted to look at it. I was like, just don't even show me any crucifixes, you know. I felt like too hurt by it, like I couldn't cope with it.
Yeah.
And in that moment, boom, another big shift. So I thought, I'm being called to be a, well, you can't call it a priestess even in the Church of England. So, but I explored it for 2 years, really seriously. Like I went and did theology, which
Wow.
I enjoyed actually. Um,
Immediately, like you went to classes for,
yeah,
oh, wow.
yeah. So I had to go and do a course to see whether I had the intellectual ability and whether I enjoyed it.
Sounded like a very patriarchal system there, but anyway.
Well, yes, well, that's one of the reasons why. I mean, in the end, there were parts of it I loved,
Yeah.
studying theology, but there were huge parts of me that I could not have taken on that journey.
Yeah.
My theology is one, my poetry being another, and I had I mean, this is when I was 50 in my Chiron return.
Wow.
I had I really need to own that I'm an astrologer now and stop messing around.
I know, but I think you're something more than an astrologer. I don't know. I don't know what the word would be, but the astrology
Yeah,
is
yeah.
just the tool for
It's
whatever
not,
else.
yeah,
Yeah.
it's not a job really, or it's not a thing I do. It's something that I am. This is what I realized, and I can't even explain that in words really, but I
You're
could.
something beyond the astrology. That's what I feel.
Yeah, yeah,
That's
yeah.
just your
Is
your
that I don't
whatever.
know.
Your what?
It's lovely, whatever it is.
Yeah, it's really lovely.
Gift. It's a God-given gift.
Yeah,
So, you know, to put it to bed would not be right
right.
at all.
Right.
Yeah, yeah, but it all kind of reached a resolution around 50.
Wow.
And
S-
I put astrology on the back burner for a couple of years. And then I realized the day I wrote to the church and said I didn't want to be a priest was the exact date of my Chiron return. So I was like, okay, I'm going to come back to this now.
Yeah. And explain for people, even myself, what does a Chiron return mean? Is it all I know is wounded healer. So explain what
Yes, so
that means.
Chiron is the wounded healer archetype.
Okay.
Shows where you have healing abilities, but also where you're wounded. So
Okay.
this for me was this more of this stuff around I you know being able to be in the world with my gifts. This
Okay.
was the wound really that opened up there. And Chiron orbits the sun in 50 years. So when you're around 50, Chiron will return
Okay.
in place as when
Okay.
you're born, and that will trigger the Chiron issues in your life.
Oh, okay. So does it brings up your wounds. So what were your
Yeah.
wounds and what were did something return to you?
Well, I think the thing that returned was actually really acknowledging that astrology, poetry, these are gifts that I have
Yeah.
and not things I can stop doing.
Right.
I should share them.
Yes, absolutely.
I need to share this.
Yeah.
I need to stop hiding it, all my poems underneath my bed
I totally agree.
and get them published. And this is what's happened recently. We're
Yeah.
waiting here with the book, but yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
listed this
Wow.
year.
Okay. So I kind of don't know where to go from here. Where would you like to go from here? Because I just don't want to, this is flowing so beautifully, and I don't want to interrupt with one of my normal questions that might. So Chiron returns, what next? What next?
Okay, well, maybe I'll talk about the book then,
Oh,
actually.
yeah. Let me just say, everyone, please, please. It's called Walk in Beauty, a guide to living in Indigenous wisdom, and it's a beautiful. Oh, I, look, I'm not really a poetry reading person, and this is a book of haikus, but but within a storyline, a journey, a walking, and I absolutely loved it. I love the haiku. Am I saying that correctly? Right, haiku. They're just little vignettes of things that Alison saw on her walking journeys. And they just absolutely take you there into a moment of time. Like when I was reading it, I visualize as I read. And I was like right there with the daffodils or the tree or and it was like so beautiful. I mean, I wish I knew some of the places you mentioned, like particular places. I don't have any connection to them, or I don't like Hebden Bridge. And, I wish I knew what they looked like so that I could transport myself there. But I absolutely love this book. It's just, anyway, you're a beautiful writer. I mean, your poetry is, yeah. Anyway, so, okay, please, how did this come together and that journey and all that?
Okay, so in 2018, I was doing the activation sequence in the Gene Keys,
Okay.
and Gene Key
How
20
did you stumble onto this? Just curious.
Gene Keys. Oh gosh, that's another story
I know.
first, and if we got time, we'll go.
Okay, okay.
But yes, Gene Key 26 is my purpose, and it's linked in with the Earth Light Grid, and I have this line 3, which is all about movement. So I love walking across landscapes, and but it really activated it, the contemplation of it, and I started this daily walking, and it just came to me to write when I got home, just write a couple of haikus. And I thought, well, if I don't remember what's happened, it's not worth writing.
Right.
But what started to happen is the more I started looking at beauty, the more I could see. It was
Oh,
amazing. And after a few months in, I had this encounter with the blackbird, which was really like, wow. So that's on the front cover there.
oh, yeah. Please describe that, please.
Well, I just said a prayer to the earth, and I'd never done that. And I just said, "Dear Earth Mother, show me your mysteries." I literally turned, and there was a blackbird right there, and its yellow eye, it's like it just pierced into me. And I mean, there's blackbirds everywhere, and I'd seen them, but I'd never seen their beauty, the beauty bird. It was just like, whoa, you know. And so that was one of the big door openers, and I felt like literally like scales fell off my eyes that year. And and then some months in, I started to see, it's like I'd just zoned the humans out. And then some way into, maybe 6 months into the journey, I noticed my first beautiful person.
Wow.
And then it was like, wow, so how come I cut myself off from noticing the human beauty? And I mentioned in the book I had post-traumatic stress disorder for about 7 years, and um, so I think I'd become quite cut off
Yeah.
from people. Even though I love people, I'd sort of there was some kind of barrier between me and them.
And this PTSD came from your childhood, so which involved people. I mean, that
Yeah,
sets up an unconscious of I just have the fear. There's just,
yeah.
yeah, yeah,
And I kind of got through my childhood with animals
yeah,
and nature, so they were my go-to.
yeah.
I can't deal with this. I'll stay with the doggies. And even the insects, I love the insects, you know. But I can't cope with the humans.
Right, right.
So it kind of brought that up, and then I started to really see feel like I could be close to humans, and so that's a journey that's gone well because I feel like I'm much more in the world now.
Yeah. Yeah.
Was so I wrote the book in 2018, put it under my bed,
Wow.
and it was in 2020 or 2021, even 2021. I heard an interview with John O'Donoghue, he wrote Anam Cara, and he was a Catholic priest, but he's a mystic, and he
Okay.
wrote this book about the inner landscape of beauty,
Oh,
and he talks about like the same things that happened to me, and I suddenly thought, oh my God, this what I've written here is really valuable,
yeah.
and I just had this vision, and I had 10 days to make an application to the Arts Council before their deadline. And I did it. I just knew exactly what to put down. So I got the book published, I've got these performances in the UK, and I'm coming to California
Oh,
in March 2023. I'm
oh
doing
my God.
performances there as
What do you
well.
mean by performances?
So,
This is this is new to me, folks. I'm learning something new. I love this.
they're parts of the stories of the haikus. There's four segments like chasing the eclipse and meeting the beauty of the humans. So there's four segments, and in between them are beautiful soundscapes. There'll be different, in the UK I'm using hand pan and gongs, but when I come to the US, I'll have to see what's available. I think there will be a gong though, actually. So
And where in the US are you going? Did you say California?
yeah, yeah. So uh, Ojai, which is a little place
Yeah.
outside LA,
Yeah.
San Diego.
Love. Wow.
Both of these are at lovely friends I've met on the internet.
Yeah.
I work on a forum called Soul Tribe, so I've met
Okay.
these women there. So they've both got historical houses, and,
Wow.
and they've offered like to host this. And yeah, it's like not a big performance. It's more a kind of invitation to people who know to come
Yeah. Yeah. That,
and yeah.
I mean, that, anyway, that sounds, it's fabulous, but I wanted to ask you something. This book was, it was so inspiring, and it made me, I mean, I walk already, but I kind of walk with a mission of walking or listening to an interview or my funky dance music. And, and I'm and I walk in an area, I don't have the scenic naturescape that you have. And I thought to myself, I'm walking around, and this is for anybody, I'm walking around just, I don't know, how can the average person, do you have like a little, here's how to walk in nature guide? What is it?
Mm.
Like I try, I think, sorry, I'm stumbling on my words here. What I discovered is I can't make the beauty come to my eyes. Do
No.
you know what I mean? Um,
Yeah.
but I, anyway, I did discover just in letting go, then the beauty comes to you. Like
Mm.
you're not like
Definitely. Yeah.
what this is how it was for me. I was like trying to see beauty in everything. And that trying or the trier is the wrong viewer of beauty. You kind of just let go, and you're not going to see beauty in everything, right? I mean, you will, but it's like something will capture you,
Mm.
and then it just hits you here. I don't know. How would you tell someone to walk like you did. I don't know. I'm not making sense. Sorry.
Well, one thing I figured out through it is there's two ways of walking. One is walking with a mission,
Yeah.
and so it's more about where you're going to. And you might be doing something. So, I'm going to listen to my podcast while I'm doing it.
Yeah.
So it's quite a yang way of walking in
Yeah.
a way. It's kind of walking from the mind as well. The mind's decided I'm going there. But there's another way of walking. We might call it meandering, or or it's a more of a yin way of walking because it's more about where the body wants to go.
Yeah.
And there's, you could stop and have a pause. You could stop and look at the flower or look at the bird, or stop and you hear a bird singing and you stop and listen. So you have to want to break out of the mind walking.
Right.
I mean, what you will receive from breaking out of that is enormous, because it's like there's this whole imaginal realm that you
Yeah.
can live in, where there's peace, there's beauty,
Mm.
the mystical experience of life. It's what everyone is seeking,
Yeah.
actually.
Absolutely.
Um,
Absolutely.
and maybe it's easier than people think.
Oh, I think it is, but it's something that needs a little bit of practice if you're not
Yeah,
used to it. Like,
discipline as
yeah,
well.
and but it is about rather being in thought consciousness, it's really about paying attention to the feeling body.
Yes.
Once you pay attention, say, to your legs and your feet, how they feel on the ground, or just the sunshine on your skin, or whatever, within your feeling consciousness, then things start to click. But it is a
Yeah.
practice. Yeah. So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Yeah. I mean, I think it's practice because most of us are very conditioned
Yeah.
mind way of living.
Yeah. I mean, I suppose you're in the mind. Like, I see lots of walkers passing by, and even myself when I'm on a mission to walk because I need exercise. I notice that the head is moving slightly
Yeah.
ahead of the body, right? And so that's a good indication. Oh, I just need to slow down and drop perhaps into my hips and let the hips guide me or something.
Yeah.
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 So,
Yeah.
yeah.
Definitely.
Yeah.
And, the thing is, to saunter
Yeah. It was under.
can bring up fear as well. It can be like
Absolutely.
guilt, oh, I've got all this whole to-do list and I'm busy sauntering around the park.
I know, what am I doing? That's the belly freaking the belly of the beast is relaxing, and it's like all your fears start coming. Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, yeah. So
Absolutely.
it's like you're crossing a Rubicon where you're going to face the fear that if you do nothing, if you saunter, meander, that the whole world isn't going to fall apart. In
Right.
fact, you're going to break through to something
Yes.
better.
Yes. Yes. Oh,
And so I wanted to, I think that's like given me the energy to get the book published, because I suddenly saw in an instant through this John O'Donoghue interview how important this beauty stuff actually is, And I mean, we're all doing a lot of things to try and improve, get better, but in a way, that's also a mind driven.
100%. 100%.
What we need to do is relax and enjoy life and
Absolutely.
hug each other and touch our dogs and cats, and you know
I couldn't agree more.
really feel that it's yeah. So now I'm kind of mostly in perpetual bliss.
I'm gonna get my walking shoes on, my meandering
Yeah, yeah,
shoes.
do.
And I really do. This is just a side note. I apologize, but I really do recommend getting. I I no longer wear regular regular like tennis shoes, but I wear, you know, those barefoot
Oh, me too.
yeah, yeah. And that makes a world of difference.
Does.
Just to
Yeah,
feel the grip of your feet and the
yeah.
bump of the grip. Yeah, it's beautiful.
I really agree because
Yeah.
I've been wearing boots mostly for years, but my feet were always quite painful. I mean,
Yes.
wearing the boots when I wrote the book. I've recently got the barefoot shoes, but I think they make a huge difference
Huge
too.
difference and very healing for the feet. Yeah. And you can
Yeah,
feel all the, like if you walk on the grass, I can't imagine what it would be like to wear those walking on like a walking trail, the dirt. Oh my God, I would love that. The little rocks.
yeah.
I love it. I mean, it's just brilliant.
I
Any,
did a I recently did a 33-mile pilgrimage in them, and it was amazing, like going up over a watershed and coming back.
God, I so want to do that. I cannot tell you how
It was
much I have been craving to do a walking pilgrimage. It's one of my dreams. Oh, I'm going to cry because I would love to do that. Anyway,
Yeah. Well, if you can ever get to England,
I know I would love to. I would love to go on this journey. So 33, and we're like, there's stop. Obviously, there were stops in between. How long did that take you? And oh, that's beautiful.
I think it took us 4 or 5 days. It was
God, a
tough
lot.
for me. My companions were a bit fitter than I am, but we've got me and my friend. We're doing but it's about 63 miles in October to Holy Island, which you may have heard of, Linda's Farm. Uh,
Wow.
that's going to be amazing. The St. Cuthbert's Trail, it's called. So
God.
yeah, I mean, see, this is kind of another thing that's really changed in me is I see this. This is my work to go and walk the land. You know, I
Yeah.
don't have to be at a computer all the time, um, because like that year I walked, wrote the haikus. I had no idea a book would come from that, and
Wow.
have this opportunity to come to America and do it in these beautiful churches in Britain. So it
Ugh.
opened these doors. I had none of that planned, but the universe had it planned.
Yeah. Yeah. Oh, I
You
can't
follow
wait.
your
But
bliss.
I hope you're taking notes and recording on your next couple of journeys because I want to see. I would like to read.
I will. Yeah.
Yeah. I would exactly the same way. Just I can't wait to
Well,
be on that
actually,
journey.
if people want to follow them, I have Instagram at Astro Alison. So
Oh, okay. Excellent.
Instagram is because I make little videos and
Oh,
things.
I have got to get on Instagram. Sorry, folks. I am like so non-techie. Now, anything more to say on that? Because I want to ask you another take it just to a different direction.
No, that's
Okay. So I have to ask you something else that you're doing that is related to Soul Tribe. I saw your video on the celestial communication where
oh,
you were using your, oh my, I was transfixed. The beauty just of simple hand movements to the music. What is that? What are you doing? How did that happen? Wow.
okay. Well, at the beginning of the pandemic, I'd never been involved in Kundalini yoga before, and a friend introduced me to this woman called Adash, who I started following. I joined Soul Tribe mostly for her,
Yeah.
and she's not on there anymore. But now I'm doing
Yeah.
she and I'm doing the celestial communication with
Wow.
one of her students called Cheryl. So it's a really powerful modality. I love it because it's creative
Yeah.
art. So it's not a fixed thing that someone a long time ago came up with. Anyone can kind of come up with their own celestial communication.
You know what? I have to interrupt because I'm so excited. You know, when we were doing our little session thingy, I think that's what you drew out of me, my own Kundalini. You didn't see, but I was doing. these hand movements. You
Mm.
probably were not watching. You didn't see me.
No, my eyes were shut.
Yeah, sorry, folks. We were doing a little session, a little creative session. And anyway, I was working on it. And then all of a sudden, my own Kundalini energy, suddenly my arms just started moving and doing mudras and kriyas that I've never done before. I mean, I do it in my own meditation, but it was like a beautiful dance, and I think you triggered that in me. So, wow.
And you know, maybe when I started doing it with the Dash was the first time I really felt myself to be beautiful, watching this
It's
reflection
so beautiful.
of doing, you know, I could, because you, part of the celestial communication is the mirroring of each other and seeing the beauty, again, the beauty, and actually feeling like a graceful, beautiful woman.
Yeah,
It really activated a deep yin part in me. And a friend of mine called it a six-dimensional prayer
I
because
agree.
intention, you're using movements, it's all connected to the subtle bodies.
Absolutely.
There's actually a lot behind it.
Yeah,
Then you've got the mantras. You know, the mantras are really powerful technologies.
yeah.
And even that simple act of chanting a mantra for 10 minutes a day, you know, you've got something like 84 channels in on the top of your mouth. So, you know, when you chant mantras, it just does all kinds of amazing things
Wow.
for you. And it's been life transforming. And I think for me, I love it because I'm creative and
Yeah.
they come to me, you know.
And this is something you're it's a class you're offering on Soul Tribe, right? Soul
Yeah.
Tribe is like explain what Soul Tribe is, and I would like to
Okay.
be able to, could I post that video or do I have a link? Could I would love people to see that. It just was beautiful.
Yeah, I'll
We'll
send
figure
you
that
the
out.
link
Okay.
again, and yeah. So Soul Tribe is an online subscription community, but they do have a Facebook page called Soul Tribe Online. And so there's around eight, mostly yoga teachers, but I came in with Gene Keys, and then I've started doing celestial communication. So I do them periodically, the celestial communication. So this one, for example, Venus is just reaching the end of her morning star phase, so she's descending. And so some of those movements are actually about bringing Venus into the body and
Wow.
like purifying the sexual energy,
Right.
that one. So I timed, they're astrologically timed. So
Okay.
they're kind of inviting a deeper contemplation of something that's going on in the cosmos. And then there's teachers like Eve,
Yeah.
who joined to follow me, and she's now teaching her art and tuning.
Yeah.
So it's moved from a yoga platform to being a kind of, I mean, a lot of us are feeling it's, this is actually about Gaia, this whole platform.
Yeah. I see.
So it's great, and you know, it's just like that thing of having contact with the sort of intimacy growing,
Yeah.
the kind of sister, we're healing a lot of those sisterhood wounds, I feel, through
Yeah.
this journey of sharing together. And so lots of things are going on there. It's
Yeah.
very
Yeah. And do you do astrological readings for people, or are you sharing your insights? Uh, yeah.
well. Part of being a subscriber to Soul Tribe is I do an astrology class once a week.
Okay. Okay.
It includes, it's like sound healing and also discussion. So it's quite like interactive and creative,
Yeah.
more sort of intellectual. I'm always trying to get away from intellectual. And yeah, but I do one-to-one readings as
Okay.
well.
Okay.
So I
And
specialize in the goddess asteroids with the readings. So um,
does that mean you only cover that, or you just, in addition to kind of a normal astrological reading, or do you just focus on how does that differ?
well, I do the foundation
Right.
of the chart,
Okay.
process orientated way, which means it's about the parts of the cycle that you're born into that give you a lot of information about yourself in that particular planetary energy. And then building on that foundation are these goddess asteroids who they're these new feminine archetypes. So they connect a lot with relationships,
Okay.
with people who are healers, um, people who feel like they're really challenging the gender roles,
Okay. Okay.
female roles in our society. They're kind of breaking the boundaries of those. So they're great.
Yeah,
They're
and everyone has asteroids in their
Oh
chart,
yeah, yeah. Everyone has them. Yeah.
and hmm, I don't even know. I'm so bad with astrology. I don't even know what to add. It's fascinating. So when you're what is this like an archetype? The asteroids that are in your chart is it like you're representing your higher archetype, or
Yeah, yeah. So let me give you a concrete
okay,
example.
okay,
So I have Vesta, this priestess, and she opposes Chiron in my chart. So this is a wounded place. The wound is activated in the priestess. But I also have Uranus there, so it's breaking free the priestess
okay.
in, and I really see this unfolding in my life. And so I'm not only breaking free myself as a priestess, but I'm breaking free other people
Yeah.
be in that role and to really embody it.
Yeah.
It's not just about reading about it, it's
Right.
about being it.
Nice. Oh, I love that. I wish I knew my asteroids. But,
Yeah,
but
exactly.
now I'm going to be really crude. I don't know my asteroids from my, anyway, I just had to, sorry.
I know. Very good joke.
I
Good.
know.
I love you, Kat.
Sorry. Oh, I don't know where these things come from. I'm so sorry. Here you are, just beautiful light, and here I come with my little darkness. Anyway, um, I don't even know where to go from there. Anything else that you want to share? Because I've disturbed my. Sorry about the noise. Hold on here.
Your cats.
The airplane. Um, what else would you like to share that I haven't? I mean, I am just fascinated by you. Just wow.
I'm fascinated by me too. That's the good thing when you kind of get fascinated by yourself, but not in a sort of
Of
narcissistic
course. Yeah.
more of a way of the wonder of what a human being can be. I think this is what Walking Beauty opened up, you know, other people's beauty, but my beauty and wonder as well. And so it's beautiful because I feel like we're only just getting started here.
I know. I know. I do too. I get that feeling too. Yeah.
Yeah, yeah, yeah.
Wow.
And so what will be going on in a few years' time? Where will we all be at? So even though there's like a lot of terrible things going on in the world, I actually feel like really optimistic,
Yeah.
like a sense of purpose. This is what we need to
Yeah.
do. We need to move into this imaginal realm.
Absolutely.
Yeah, that's
Absolutely.
my number one thing.
I couldn't agree with you more because I mean that's where everything is created.
Yes,
And we
exactly.
better start be and it starts with your thought, and we all need to be cleaning up our thoughts and dreaming big right now. I mean, that's been the
Yeah.
message of, Eve, myself. Yeah, dream your big dreams right now and live in, oh, yeah. So in when you look at the astrology of the next couple of years, what is that? Maybe that's not an appropriate question, but does it?
Ooh, well, it's a good question for this week, actually.
Oh, okay.
At the moment, we've got all the big planets are retrograde, and
Oh,
Uranus is also turning retrograde. Quite a lot of the asteroids, Chiron, are retrograde. So
wow.
we're actually in this huge like pressure to clean up now.
Okay.
And there's a lot of pressure that's breaking down systems. I mean, we could see that
Yeah.
during the pandemic.
Yeah.
Who knew life could change that quickly, really? I think we've all got a perspective on how quickly things can change. Um, so, I mean, the human design sort of predictions are that, we're going to have this huge transformation in 2027. So the next 5 years are going to be pretty intense
Yeah. Yeah.
and chaotic. People living in that linear way, in the linear mind, are going to experience a lot of fear and confusion.
Yeah.
So, you
Yeah.
know, coming into this imaginal space is actually where you can be at peace. We can be creating the new. We can live in happiness even.
Absolutely. Absolutely. And
God,
this is all of our jobs right now is
yeah,
like live in the imaginal realm. Imagine your best life. Dream the best earth into reality.
yeah,
Yeah, this is our job. If ever anyone on the spiritual path or even whatever, this is our job right now. This is it.
but I think just to kind of add on to that, we need to see it as a collective thing. So
Yeah.
this isn't like dreaming of. I mean, they may have elements, but it's not dreaming of our personal attainment.
No, 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 not at
A
all.
much
Not at all.
bigger dream.
Yes,
It's
yes.
like let's dream for the planet. Let's
Great
dream
for the planet, but
humanity.
it is about personal, but not in attainment of things or I want a happier life. It's about dreaming that big archetype dream you have of yourself, your
Yes,
authentic,
yeah,
true self coming into the world, because then being in alignment with your true self and your inner self, inner truth, is what's in alignment with the cosmos and makes just it helps everyone else be in alignment with their inner truth.
yeah, definitely.
Yeah,
And yeah, and then we all blossoming, and
exactly.
we are in abundance. Then we're in natural abundance.
Yeah.
So
Oh,
yeah, I mean, we're totally on the same
yeah,
page.
absolutely, 100%. And who's this little friend right here? We'll wrap it up. And who is this
Oh,
little sweet boy?
this is
Girl.
little Bongo.
Who is it? Bongo?
Go. Say
Oh,
hello, Bongo.
hello, sweet.
Oh, and do you want to see Lily?
Yes, yes.
Because Lily just sort of yawned. So Lily.
Hello, Lily
It's
and
so
Bongo.
sweet. I love this whole Zoom life because you can have a dog at each side.
Yeah, through the interview, I just saw like a little tail or a little fur. So I'm so glad. Hello,
Hello.
beautiful creatures. Okay, so I think that anything, final words, I think this has been a fascinating, beautiful, beautiful interview. And
Thank you. Thank
okay,
you for asking me. I've
yeah,
enjoyed it.
yeah, and we'll get all the links, and I'm going to say goodbye and stop recording, but I won't hang up on you like I did the other interview. Okay.